Welcome back, everyone. Apologies for that brief intermission. Our friends over in Mexico, there was a earthquake, but luckily everyone seems fine and they're getting it back into it and into the action. And during that break, we had a substitution that had to be made on the casting lineup. My dear fellow has gone and taken his well-deserved break, and I've brought in a superstar alongside to replace the big shoes that fellow have left. It is, of course, Grace. Grace, how are you this evening, or morning, depending on where you are?
Morning is 3:30 for me right now, but I mean, I'm pretty hyped to get into this. Already it's been a little bit interesting. You know, theme park was certainly one that left me scratching my head a little bit underwhelming on both sides for those teams, I feel, but this is where I really think, you know, a big showdown is going to happen. Knights, of course, starting on the more favourable defensive side. I think this one may be a little bit rough for 9Z, who already are feeling the pressure. They have to make sure that they get this map under their belt, and if they don't know V, it's bye-bye.
Yeah, and it's bye-bye not only for their hopes for playoffs, but also there is another team that is watching very, very closely. That's Team Cruelty. If Knights win this map here and now, even if Team Cruelty pull out an upset against 6 Karma tomorrow, it is unfortunately for naught. Knights will take the playoffs spot. So that is what is on the line. That is the stakes. 9Z, not only for their own hopes, but other teams are the ones who could play a gatekeeper. Knights, though, looked comfortable and certainly looked a little bit more disciplined towards the end of Theme Park. But for now, 9Z are on that attacking side on Cafe. Now, 9Z, in terms of lineup, they've got that IQ, they've got the Nomad. This is very similar to what they were bringing previously on Theme Park, so similar set of composition. IQ making her first appearance so far in the series, but on that defensive side, with the Solus being banned, and Knights seem to favour this very information denial setup, instead of the Mute and the Solus being banned, they've opted for the Mute and the Mozzie, preventing that drone economy that both teams, to be fair, not just Knights, I was very critical on them, but also 9Z, fairly weak on that drone economy, meaning in the later portion of rounds, lack of information can prove worrisome, but mate might be in a position where he's going to get pinched with that E1D from the line chiming on in, but no, Knights just buries 9Z alive. Pixie jumps in on the window, and with all those trades, it is going back and forth. 9Z somehow keeping us alive in this victory, doing their best effort to keep it into a level playing field, but Knights, here is where the dust settles halfway through the round, and both teams just completely decimated. The smoke getting thrown straight into the player's face. Pixie not quite expecting that one. It was Victory who comes around the corner, takes a shotgun to the face, and Pixie's trying not to get choked out, but might be about to get suffocated to death in the yellow gas. The second one is blown out, but Pixie is stuck between a smoke and a hard place. And just like that, it is annihilated. Knights close out the round, and it is a iffy situation for 9Z. Not maybe looking too comfortable. They did well to get it so close in that, but unfortunately, it just didn't materialize.
That's the thing though, Novi, you know, you have got to remember, Cafe, it's very, very defender-sided. As the attackers, you have so much room that you need to clear through, so much control you need to gain under your belt. And 9 times out of 10 too, there's so much utility that you have to go up against as well.
You need that utility as well in the later end of the round, and I was questioning that IQ being brought. What purpose does that serve? But this round, certainly, I'm wondering why Pixie is rotating off of it. You've got the Black Eyes on the Valkyrie. You've got the Echo as well with the Yokais. If there's any round that you should be bringing the IQ, this is probably it, Grace.
definitely, but they are going to bring the Flores instead. So again, it's like, yes, IQ can be used to clear a lot of utility, but again, the Flores can also do that too, whether you are going to just use that to go through some of those Saria gates, or at the same time, you know, maybe if you want to deal with some shields. I'd assume they think there's shields here. Lovely little spawn peek coming through there from Might, though. Goodness me, Novi.
Yeah, huge opening kill, and that's the air jabs of all the operators. I mean, to be honest, you don't want to lose any of the operators, but that is a really, really bad one to lose, and a frag grenade is going to get tossed around the pillar. That should be another kill. No, Tom just about runs away, but that is brutal opening by Knights. The speed and aggression by Mate to open up the round is just absolutely massive.
Yes, indeed, especially when you consider that, you know, if you're not getting the trade in those kind of moments, you're basically entering the building at that man disadvantage as well. Risky business indeed. With the old school approach of opening up the piano wall, presumably they will start to apply that pressure towards Pixel also.
Now, Nil V on that ace with the Selma charge is getting blocked, trying to work out where is causing the issue. It is the Newt Jammer, and that's actually forced an EMP out. No, it's around the corner. Has he just wasted both his EMPs? Yes, he has. There's no way of dealing with that apart from just shooting it out, which is, as you would say, risky business. Risky biscuits, indeed. Not just risky business. Speaking of risky business, firing through that piano window on that trade, but there's a black eye that's going to give a lot of information, and here's the swing in. They've been forced to take the action to them. Faxi is looking for the engagement, but Knight's being very disciplined. Long ranges of sights across all that top floor means that they can play around these angles and take their sweet time with which engagements they choose to take.
Might looking to get mighty. There we go. Unfixed falls down. Can they get a second? Nearly do. Go for a little spray and pray around the corner. This is the beauty of these really aggressive setups like this when you do blow out that bathroom hole. There we go. Faxi falls down too. C4 goes out. Will it land on anyone? I don't think it will. They have pulled back for now. Ideally, again, when you're in a 2 versus 5, you need to get your bearings just a little bit, work out what the plan is.
And Tuku making it even more dim. Never mind. Perfect round. There's not much more I can add to that. Knights close it out in a confident fashion, to say the least. A 9Z. Is this where you call the tactical timeout? I know it's early. I know it's only round 3, but currently Knights
I'd agree.
look so much better.
No, I'd agree. I think at this point, you know, it's like, okay, well, do we let that 3rd round slip away from us, or do we call it now? Do we call it nice and early? You can safely assume, you know, defense will be fine 9 times out of 10. We need to get these attacking rounds under our belt. That's where the most important aspect is. If you are on that tagging half, you know you are starting with a slight crux here. So you need to get those under your belt. You need to work out something different. You know, why aren't we winning these gunfights? Maybe we take things like more flashes as an example. Ying is banned. That is a bit of a difficult one. Again, she's very, very useful, especially when you're clearing that top floor, especially when you're clearing piano. Even if you want to take the cocktail take, it's still a good piece of kit to have. I think really it's, you know, adjusting yourself around that. Okay, maybe we do bring more flashes in pocket. Maybe we do bring more ops with, you know, clearance utility. We see once again the IQ getting picked back off. They're going to take the sledge instead, of course, noting that it is kitchen. They want to start working that verticality in mining.
Those flashes indeed would help out a lot. You've got the Wamai, you've got the Jaeger. That is a lot of utility to clear. Never mind the deployable shields also being brought, 2 of them for the side of Knight. So those frag grenades, if they're going to be able to clear anything, you're going to have to clear the way first. Tuku is going to be holding Bakery, ADS just with him as well, and he's safe to get that information on those drones. No spawn peak either. So 9Z given... I say a tiny bit of breathing room. The breathing room I'm talking about is whether Mate decides to just leap out a window and start taking the fight outside the building. That's, to me, is breathing room being given to 9Z.
We do love a cheeky spawn peak, and we do love a little bit of aggression. But I think at the moment, you know, Knights are in a comfortable place. Do they want to keep up this momentum? Do they want to keep going for this aggression? Because eventually 9Z should start to be able to... react to it a little bit better. Speaking of reactions, Dirty is going to get away scot-free. I do think they're aware of his position. But again, they're really not willing to take that gunfight yet. Sending those nades, trying to clear him out. Again, we're going to start seeing pillars control gained, potentially. No, they're not going for it just yet. Again, a slow start right now for 9Z. It's like they're trying to work out what they want to do exactly, Novi.
Yeah, they've droned it and got a... Okay, they're making their way for the Slayer just to burst on in. I haven't seen that one before. Just sprinting in, and it somehow ends up working. Mate takes one, but it takes two to tango, and Tom is the other dance partner. Faxi removed from play. Iana no longer with the frag grenades in pocket, and although the focus is towards this main bakery, you can see the rest of Knights is poised and ready to resist this approach.
100%. Investing in the toxic babes already, so again, none left if they do start to push into prep, but you know, you do have the player advantage. You've got the yokais on the board as well. Pixie looking to get a cheeky little headshot, just going a little bit aggressive here. Looking for the heads of Knights. Oh, there we have it. Tom can clap back. SMG-11 to the face, and Pixie's gonna fall down. No trade just to come through just yet, and Fix looking for the angle. Victory starts to push into prep as well. Goes for the back shot. There we have it. Tom is taken out.
Dirty trading on back, and the flashes are going out, but it's a little too late. There's no frag grenades to follow up, no players to get flashed because the warden is there with the smart glance glasses activated, and with that, not going to be affected by the flash, can clear up that kill. And nice, a full 3-round rotation, and that is a timeout now being called for 9Z.
Fair enough. The 3-3 split maybe is what they can try to go for now. I think the main issue really, Novi, is again they're not committing to the full clearance as well as they could be. There's times where they're trying to take these initial fights, but they're not using the utility they have in pocket. You know, upstairs, maybe they're these aggressive setups. The best way to combat that is by sending in some of that flash utility, even some smokes if you've got it. They're not really doing that. They're going for these more like, okay, we'll just actually take that gunfight instead of trying to use the utility to give us a safer bet of winning these gunfights. And when it comes to that downstairs site, instead of clearing and going for the vertical, you know, they picked off onto the sledge and they still were like, you know what, we're just gonna take the 4 of us immediately to bakery and see what happens. Like, okay, guys, maybe we don't do that. Maybe if we're taking that kind of util, we are sending a few people upstairs to go for that clearance. You're applying that pressure from the top floor, and you're making sure that maybe you snag yourselves a few freebies in the process.
But this was what we were very critical, and especially Fellow was really focusing in on this on terms of 9Z. On Theme Park, they would just go horizontally, ignore the vertical play, and it might have worked for 1 or 2 rounds where Knights was just not really unfortunate, but making mistakes in which 9Z was punishing. But as soon as they got those crossfire set up and they just ignored that vertical play, 9Z didn't stand a chance. They were walking into an ambush, and for Knights, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. It's completely easy for them to close out those rounds.
I really do want to see, this is the thing, 9Z, they're taking the Brava now, and I said I wanted to see them maybe use more of that utility that they have in pocket, but it's more using the utility to deal with the aggressive setups by Knights. I don't think the Brava utility, they're going to get much way out of using that, to be honest. I'll be really blunt about it. You know, maybe those smokes in pocket, you know, they might help. But what are they really struggling with at the moment? Again, you could say the Bravas to deal with those mute jammers, which I do understand, but at the same time, they need to bring something that's got a little bit more punch behind it, I think.
I'm thinking of Zofia or something along those lines. With the lifeline, you've got 4 shots, long range, 2 explosives, 2 concussions. Brings that mix of utility, helps clear some of the shields and everything that's being brought by the side of Knights. And they should have identified here, there's no Wamai, there's no Jaeger. So operators with those throwables, with those projectiles, go up in value in rounds like this, and could have been a really good pick for 9Z to take advantage of.
100%. Yuri getting tagged up a little bit. Isn't going to lose his life just yet, but again, this is where, ooh, okay, they're starting to apply that pressure to Cocktail. They're at least trying to remove some of these players, if not by getting that kill, but at least by sending in some of that utility. So this is already the kind of approach 9Z needed to take, right? Use that utility to push them out of these defensive positions.
Once pushed out, Knights will then back off down to where the actual site is. Victory is very cautious of a run out from bottom of white in the garage and is looking for where that might come from. 9Z is working their way down. We wanted to see this vertical play. The sledge is now actually above, but they're still not sure where the remaining Knights players, if there is anyone still there, because they don't have control on white. Victory can't get on that window and start aggressing. Only now is 2Q forced off, but that's with a minute remaining, and they can always walk back up white stairs. There's nothing to prevent them from contesting that once more.
Precisely. They're going to tend to get pillars control as well. It'd be interesting to see if we do get pressure down red as well. And you want a few prongs to this approach, ideally. You want a few different dimensions that you can push and take and really squeeze that pressure onto Knights. I wonder if Dirty's going to go a little bit hyper-aggressive here. Already making themselves a little bit further up those white stairs. Certainly, again, risky business, but if it can pay off, it can pay off. Again, shotgun in hand. Nice kind of kit to have there.
But the time grates. 20 seconds. Now 15. Mate. First one to draw blood. It's followed by Dirty trading his life as he goes down, but not out. But it's just getting cleared up completely by Knights. A flawless round. A flurry of kills. And just like that, 9Z falls.
Starting to get a little bit concerning now if you are indeed a Knight Z fan. Again, you know, Knight's taking that first map, and now you're kind of 4-0 down. Granted, you are on the less favourable side, but you'd ideally hope 9Z could at least get, you know, at least, I'd say free, to be honest. Again, it is very, very uncomfortable if they do end up on that 6-0. You know, one mistake on that defence, and that is, you know, this best of 3 over for them, Novi. It's risky business. Pressure certainly is on. I think they've already started to adapt to the way that they want to approach things. Again, they're really starting to fall into that utility more to go for these clearances of these really important points. They then managed to get a lot of that top floor control and start working that verticality. But those additional angles of pressure, it was kind of uncoordinated, and that's where they were able to get picked off a little bit. You know, the coordination needs to be a little bit tighter. There needs to be those 3-2-1s, and they're just non-existent at the moment.
And 9Z, let's talk about the stakes for them right now, because they're sitting bottom of Group A. They would love the points to maybe try and work their way up over Team Cruelty and Knights, who currently sit above them. But the big issue is, even if they win that first, even if they win this map and the next one, it kind of depends on what Team Cruelty do tomorrow. Fate is not in their hands, and if they lose this game and lose the series, they'll be playing for that 7th place seeding match against Mayhem Evolve. And that is their one shot at still getting to the major and playing in the closed qualifiers. If they lose that, then they are eliminated. No shot at all. So whatever they can do, whatever they're going to bring, they need to start bringing it now, because you don't want to risk it in those qualifiers. You don't want to risk falling by the wayside and not even getting a chance to get to the international event.
Speaking of risking it, I was wondering if Gary was going to go for a bit of over-aggression there, maybe jumping out the window. We have seen it so many times. I think this time Knights are being very sensible, considering it is Cafe. You know, I often think of Cafe, if it gets to this point where the other team is having a bit of a field day, that's when the window jump outs start happening a lot more aggressively. Granted, we have already seen it from this lot, but I'm wondering, you know, they have gone a bit more passive now, and that's shows a lot of control, really, as well, if you think about it. You know, the fact that Knights are being like, okay, we'll pull back now. If we can end this on a 6-0, perfect stuff. 90 already seeing that, you know, Pixel is fully clear. Yes, there is a bit of aggression here. Tuku going for it. I mean, I said, when was it going to happen, Novi? And there we have it.
Yep, Dooku, you know, the black eyes may not be able to see outside anymore, but it's not going to stop the Valkyrie from still trying to send it. And those Syria gates really held up 9Z from taking piano control, because they had to move operators there with the flashes who could actually start clearing that. They didn't want to waste the frag grenades, but a headshot goes through before going down. But he's still not out. Faxi replies onto Giri. And that might put them into a slightly more favorable position for 9Z, but is it really going to be enough? It's a 3 versus 4, 50 seconds, and that is certainly going to help with that kill onto Dirty.
It is, but are they aware of the long rotate there by Tuku? Because again, they're going to probably safely assuming at this point there's only one player tucked at the back there. Tuku repositioning just to give a little bit of help to his teammates. Especially given that Might is on a seriously low amount of HP right now.
Oh, Tuku! Calling down the Hellfire. Double kill going through. Nilvi, the last one to live, bearing 9 in hand, won't stand a chance against Mate. Easily wins that duel, and Knights looking to go for that flawless game to close out the series. 5-0, one more and they have a flawless half, and they are on series point, and they complete their path through to playoffs.
This is quite rough for 9Z right now. Again, at this point, it's very much Knights are carrying this away now, I'll be honest. I don't want to sound like that's me being cruel, but it's just like, you know, I don't see 9Z pulling this back really if it gets to that 6-0. If they get if they're able, to be honest, Novi, like if Knights are about to hit the 6-0 mark and 9Z then turn around, they do pull it to 6-6 and we do go to that also glorious overtime, I will just be in amazement, because I think that that will really show the mental fortitude. But right now, surely your mental's got to be a little bit shaken. You know, you lost your map pick. It was a very awkward map on that theme park between the both of them. You're now on Cafe. It's not going great. You've started on the attack on Cafe as well.
Yeah. That for me is the most concerning thing. Why did you choose attack here, right? Surely you should have had a game plan going into this, because why on earth would you choose to go on essentially the weaker side to begin with when you had that option? That was something that fuddled us slightly on the desk, was both teams seemed to pick the weaker sides. But 9Z, they've made their bed. They've got to lie in it now. Applying pressure through Garage and towards the bottom of White Stairs, but there's a player slightly lurking around the corner. Is he going to get droned out? I'm not sure if there is any kind of prevention. No mute jammers, no Mozzie, nothing to stop that information. So this is a really good test for 9Z to see if they can act on those fundamentals with that droning.
It's a problem when you do have that player in VIP. You need to send a few nades. This is where you do need to get that information. You do need to go aggressive. You do need to get that double window. Gorgeous shot there by Faxi. Dirty's going to get taken clean out. But again, Faxi, a very aggressive angle from Knights that he has to work against. Giri is looking to get a little bit of a hedge of his own. Victory, however, does follow it up there. A second one there onto Gary as well. So already, Victory going on a little bit of a tear here, to be honest, Novi.
And with all that information to play with, 9Z is having a field day. Just clearing the crop of Knights as they're struggling to stay in the round. And it's not quite flawless, but it is such a round that 9Z needed to get their mojo and get back on form. But Knights, they have so many rounds remaining in which they can, you know, clear the difference and get onto map point. But at least they didn't get 6-0'd. 9Z still have a chance. They're on that preferred side, Grace.
They're on that preferred side. And this is the main thing too. I want to know how they're going to maintain this control. Are they going to go for the kind of styles where you have those long lines of sight, the massive amounts of aggression? And again, on the side of Knights, we really need to look at how Knights are going to go for this map clear, right? 9Z went very direct, to be honest. They weren't really thinking about the additional dimensions they could have, and even when they did, they weren't timing things correctly. Knights, ideally, again, they need to be doing pretty much that. They need to be timing things correctly on this attack. If you get the timing wrong when it comes to Cafe, things slip away from you very, very quickly. You need to have everything absolutely on point. You need to be counting in together, making sure that you are approaching the site and approaching these points of the map. You know, think of all the choke points we have here. You need to have everything timed to perfection almost, because again, if one of you steps slightly out of line, you are going to get caught off guard and you are going to not get traded.
Yep, got to be on those trades. Knights were very, very good at their crossfires. That was a point of praise. 9Z struggled. In the 5 vs 5, they were good. When they lost a player, that's when the chaos ensued. They've got to be better if they are going to pull back this map. But of course, Knights, they can take their time. They've got a really nicely well-rounded composition, looking to use those Rotero drones. Just got to be careful of those mute jammers. No IQ to help find the black eyes, so got to be cautious of what information 9Z is bringing. In the meantime, Knights working their way top to bottom. This is standard. This is bread and butter cafe.
Bread and butter being the main point there, definitely. You know, all the soft destructibility, the utility clear as well. Let's see how they do it, though. Let's see how they make use of this kit in their pockets. Already, there we go, the Rotoro drones clearing a lot of utility. They're applying that window in piano, the window pressure in piano. Again, they still have nades in pocket. Don't forget, you know, those nades are so important. You throw them towards any aggressive setup that they've set up. You throw them through holes that they've created. You throw them into Pixel. Again, the swing around the corners with Pixel. We're seeing might now go for the balcony pressure, potentially. Or is he about to check to see if Pillars and Reading is clear? Again, if Pillars and Reading is clear, he can... Ooh, that was maybe a missed drone.
I mean,
he's wary of the run out. I was going to say maybe he'll go downstairs and start using that skeleton key to its full potential, but he's actually just going to swing in. Novi, this is massive. Not aware of Pixie and Pillars. Goodness me, there we go. Pixie gets a freebie. Neil V, nice little shotgun to the face as Unfix gets one to Tuku as well. It is pandemonium on side, and everyone there as Jerry falls down, and Dirty is now left in a 1 versus 5. Again, difficult even in the best of times. You have to isolate these gunfights, but victory will secure victory for that round.
And 9Z, they sit there with 2 rounds on the board because Knights have opened Pandora's box and all the monsters that are in the 9Z roster suddenly rise to the surface. Where has this been all game? That was so much better, so much cleaner, and way more aggressive, willing to take those gunfights. And of course, we've got to be a little bit... we were a bit critical about maybe the misdroning, but it's very easy for us with the X-ray to go, okay, well, we've seen something that you're probably not going to see, but maybe that was Knights getting too hyphy and wanting to go aggressive, wanting to get through their checklist too quickly and not doing their due diligence.
No, exactly.
And it's difficult.
That's exactly it. You know, the missed drone, they thought, you know, okay, there's no one in Reading, there's no one in Pillars. I'm gonna, you know, flash into Cocktail. I'm gonna go for that swing. Take advantage of what they thought was, you know, a free section of that top floor to take. But it wasn't. Pixie was there, ready and waiting. Yes, please swing into me. Again, as soon as that first flash comes through, Pixie would have immediately got into a position, right? They'll say they're flashing. They're gonna try and jump in. Pixie immediately is just holding that line of sight. Quick reactions from Knights, and again, really good 9Z rather, and really good comms. And again, they have secured another round on the table. But can they get free more Novi?
Yeah, that's the big question, but I'm liking the adaptation from 9Z. They've noticed Knights really leaning heavily into that throwable utility. They've opted for the Wamai and the Jaeger. Unfortunately for them, there's a bit less of that throwable utility. There are still the frag grenades, but no flashes. The Buck, this time, opting for that hard breach with the Capital as well. So no primary hard breacher, really. It's both in that secondary pocket, but it doesn't really matter. The only real maybe question mark is how that Capital's tactical crossbow is going to be used. Where are they going to try and use the flames? Where are they going to try and cover off angles with the smoke?
This is it, right? You've got a nice bit of kit there still with that Capito being brought there, and you've got to think about some of those choke points, especially when it comes to when they want to try and take bakery, people often hiding behind that little bakery counter. And even with prep, you know, there's always going to be someone behind that little half wall at the back. Oh, here we go. Already the verticality being utilized by Tuku. C4 gets wasted. And they're going to do their best at interior design right now, just completely ripping open these floors, trying to find themselves some nice little heads. But again, Novi, this additional angle pressure needs to start being applied. Someone needs to go for that rotate and start working either towards Freezer or either towards Bakery. Again, they do have that Capitao, so choke points and people hiding in those little annoying, you know, difficult positions to swing, they can probably get set on fire a little bit here with those firebolts.
Knights almost have the inverse issue that 9Z had when they were attacking Bakery. 9Z decided to just go horizontally. Knights have decided to just go vertically, but it's worked out. Those frag grenades being lethal, despite the ADSs, despite the magnets, they're still managing to find their targets. But finding their targets is Pixie, with 2 quick headshots for the SMG-11 has blown apart the round, wide open for 9Z, and Knights is left with a 2 vs 4 with 30 seconds to try and recover it, and there's 2 toxic babes still in Pixie's hands.
Certainly so. Again, Pixie has been on a little bit of a tear the last few rounds, especially since going onto this defensive side, much more comfortable and is able to capitalize on the fact that they can just go for these aggressive moments, suddenly pushing out towards the side of Knights, and no one's going to try and catch him off guard. Again, maybe we want to mind our 6s just a little bit going forward. They're just going for the drop. There's one in VIP. There's a second onto Faxi as well. They have the site control, but they're going to have to stick the plant Novi. So again, the cover needs to really come through. There we go. Tuku gets 1. Victory, it's all left to you, my friend. He goes for the drop, but there we have it. Tuku collects that final kill. Goodness me, that was incredible.
That should not have happened. They got purely, I don't even want to say outplayed there. That was a bit of luck for Knights and just good mechanical play with the butt to drop the hatch.
Gunfights.
I was just... the gunfights, man. That was just the quick target selection. 9Z almost thinking that they've got it in the bag with the lack of time as well. You could see they weren't really they kind of expected a drop, but they weren't expecting it to be that brutal. And Knights gifted from the gods with the skill to be able to take advantage of that situation. You know, it's not just luck, it's also the skill, and Knights showing why they deserve to be in playoffs, which they are just 1 round away from securing.
It's, I feel a very big amount of sadness for 9Z, though. I think, though, you know, this VOD in particular is going to show them a lot about how to change things going forward. I think Pixie hasn't really been given the chance to shine like we've seen him shine in the past, you know, especially when he was in other teams. There were moments of brilliance, but I think especially in this series right now, it's a little bit underwhelming from that player in particular. Again, probably one of my favorite players on that roster, I will be honest, but certainly since they went to his defensive side, you know, he has been having an absolute field day. He's been getting those kills on his belt, but it's too little too late, Novi. Again, you know, think about how far behind they are. They're now on match point. That pressure's going to start mounting. How long can they hold on for?
And 9Z doesn't have a tactical timeout to call. They had no option. They used it so early on into the map, and that wasn't a bad thing. They should have used it there, but they're running out of time, running out of rounds, running out of options, most importantly. Now, 9Z, with the control that they sort of managed to leverage with that flurry of exchange and kills, but the pressure's already knocking on the door. It's Neil V who takes the first. He knows another one's coming. A quick spray down with a P10 Roni because it's no double swing. Here's the option to reload in between just enough. Time passes and a third one to add to the tally. Knights is just offering several 1v1s, and 9Z will take that all day of the week. It's all down to the dirty Knights sitting down as the last player, stumbling under pillars, and a flawless round from 9Z. And you can feel how close it was in the previous round. This would be a comeback of the century with the freedom of an extra round in the pocket, but no, 9Z have to remain flawless for the rest of the map.
And again, that's an incredible amount of pressure. Granted, you know, how much of that last round was the fact that, you know, they played that round well over, you know, Knights as being like, okay, we're just going to go for the default plan and we're going to rush into it. And then them overextending into site, not realizing, okay, there's actually people holding on site. We're not winning our ones right now. Now the case is down in the middle of reading. And we have to go and try and retake that. Clunky as hell. I appreciate the fact that Knights went for it, though. You know, they were like, okay, match point, let's just try and hit them. But remember, you know, 9 times out of 10, if you do suddenly try something out of pocket like that and it does go in your favor, it's often because the other side's been caught super off guard. They weren't expecting it. They were trying to predict what you were trying to do. But really, that was just a case of Knights just trying to something over-ambitious, shall we say. 9Z just already be waiting, holding their angles, collected their freebies.
And I feel for 9Z right now, because that bakery round, let's say they had won that, and they'd won the following one, which they did, it would be 5-4, Grace. It is a completely different kind of pressure and an environment you would be playing in at a 5-4 score in comparison to being at 6-3. The pressure is totally different. But unfortunately for 9Z, this is just how it's ended up. This is where the dust has settled and the cards have fallen, and they've got to do their absolute best, in fact be perfect, to bring it back into contention. But Knights, again, top to bottom, they've got a similar lineup, this time bringing the Twitch, which we have seen on this top floor, just to help with those mirrors and the mute jammers and allow information to transgress across that top floor.
Defo, and again, Knights just going very bread and butter with it, using this utility, getting the clearance they need, opening up that piano wall, making sure they have the information most importantly as well. Already setting up for something a bit more sensible than last round, of course.
Bit more sensible. Hopefully. We'll see. Tuku is in Cigar. He's got a forward position. Going to use his drones alongside the rest of Knights, and that's something that fell by the wayside, was their drone economy. But they're halfway through the round with a plethora of options and information at their disposal. From downtown, Tuku annihilates Nilvi for the opening kill, and Nilvi didn't even know what hit him. The magnets were not in place to help prevent that. That was utter destruction as the smokes come through and they jump on down, Grace.
They certainly do. Those smokes to cover the lines of sight. It's going to give them all the clearance they need to get deep into Cocktail. That plank can go down. They collect those kills. Faxi is going to fall too. Pixie, he can be a menace, but again, a 1 versus 4 post plant pretty much. And there we have it. Knights take this 2-0.
2-0 in the series, and they move on to playoffs. Commiseration to 9Z. They did look better, especially on that defensive side, but unfortunately, it was not enough, and Team Cruelty is going to be pretty upset with that one, because there is just not enough room for them to be able to move up on